So if you could describe what was the lead up to that concert, I'll let you just speak freely about it. What was going on in America?
Washington was a segregated state, pretty much. And when she came back to America, she had already established herself in Europe. And I think it was her personality that led her to give this concert with such grace and determination, because she didn't want anything to interfere with her gift. And I think she always said that she wasn't going to be bothered with those kinds of things. And she wanted to perform. She didn't want to disappoint, and she didn't. And I think she did it just to prove who she was. And she did it unbelievably well.
She did perform on Easter Sunday, that is true, in 1939. However, she was actually scheduled to perform for Howard University. But every year, surprise, surprise, her audience got bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and Howard University could no longer accommodate her at all. So they asked DAR if they could use Constitution Hall.
And this is the Daughters of the American Revolution. DAR.
Yes, I'm sorry, DAR, yes, the Daughters of the American Revolution. And their policy was that no one of color, except if your color happened to be white, could use Constitution Hall. So she was denied. They appealed it, and she was denied again, and then Eleanor Roosevelt got involved. Perhaps it was Eleanor Roosevelt's idea to use the Lincoln Memorial, and they decided on Sunday, Easter Sunday, because A, it was available, B, it would get huge publicity, and that's what they were looking for. And Eleanor Roosevelt got involved in that. She got the media to come out in droves, and I believe NBC broadcast it live on radio, because guess what, there was no TV back then. So they broadcast it live on radio. It reached millions and millions of families throughout the United States and overseas as well. Of course, overseas didn't understand what the big to-do was, because they had accepted her years ago. You know, there was like no big deal for them. But it really woke up America. Maybe that was when the phrase woke started, I don't know. But it woke up America to the fact that we have huge social injustice in this country, in this very country that we all live in and love. There's huge social injustice.
But what's interesting for me is I'm not sure that Marian Anderson sought out this controversy. I don't think that she really wanted that controversy. She just went along with the program. She didn't seek to make a statement. And at the end of this concert, she became a symbol. She didn't ask to be. She didn't want to be. That was not her goal. But she became a symbol for some of what was incorrect in our country. And I think that was the end result of this concert.
Can you describe in so many words what was incorrect in this country? Because I don't know that people really realize what the policies were in these various theaters and towns. Can you articulate it?
Come on, that didn't ever take a lot. They were just racist policies.
So what does a racist policy look like? I don't know that our people today could understand.
We're in a segregated society. We were segregated by race. Employment, public accommodation, housing, all aspects of America was segregated. Although in the North, they probably didn't have the legal segregation as they had in the South, but all of the country was segregated.
Legally?
Not legally segregated. New York, North would not have had legal segregation.
But in the South, it was legal.
But the South, but the practices all over the country were segregation.
So what did that look like in the South?
Well, they looked pretty much the way it did in the North. People had their housing patterns. There were certain jobs that were restricted to groups. There were certain jobs you need not apply. That was true in the North, and it's true in any place in the country.
And if you want to go to the movies or see...
If you would, I would imagine in movie houses here in Connecticut, you didn't have the segregation as they would have in the South. They would have had upstairs and downstairs. You know, white people sat downstairs, black people sat upstairs. That was true all over the country then. It was the Civil Rights Act that changed all of that. And it was the March on Washington and then Marian, which led to all of that.
So from 1939, from there, things needed to progress. So what happened from that concert? Take us forward now.
That didn't change the behavior of people.
No, it didn't, but it was.
People still behave pretty much the way they were before.
So that's my point. What happened? What did it symbolize? What did that concert actually mean?
I'm from a white family and my parents told me the story in the 50s, so they obviously were impressed by it.
For me, because she was so talented and such a perfect example of what people should strive to be, for me, she became a symbol for what was correct. And I think people looked at her and said that if she has the courage to do this and to represent us, that we need to support her, and that she did this throughout her career. It was just, and she never complained. She never wrote nasty letters, but she was consistent in her performance and her presentation. Her mother told her, said that when you step out on stage, make sure you're absolutely perfect, because they're going to make it, and they're going to have ideas about you before you can open your mouth. So make sure everything else is perfect. And I think that throughout her career, this is what she did. And I think what she did was open doors, because later on when she went to the Met, she opened the doors for all of those women that came after her. When Leontine Price went to the Constitution Hall, she dedicated her concert to Marian. She said, because of her, I am. So she had an impact throughout her career. And I think that's what the 39 concert did. I think she became the spokesperson.
Can I read a quote that
Yes.
this is her words. She said, I suppose I might insist on making an issue of things, but that is not in my nature. And I always bear in mind that my mission is to leave behind me the kind of impression that will make it easier for those who follow.
If someone from the outside like myself were viewing her as an activist who, broke down barriers, it's
No.
not necessarily.
No. She was not that.
So talk to that.
It was her performance. It was she who changed things. She did not set out. She did not set out to change things. Her presence in doing it changed things. Okay? She was not one who. I've never even heard her talk too much about Civil Rights Council. It was about family, and it was about things, and about things, and that. So
This was just thrust upon her. She didn't see it. She just was thrust upon her.
yes,
So it sounds to me like she had if you're trained, if you've gone to all that effort to train as a singer, you want to sing. And it sounds to me like she just
but
wanted
it
to
wasn't I
sing.
want to perform here because I want to change your policies and behavior. It was never like that. And I don't think she set out to change the world. It was for what she did change the world. Okay. I saw her back at the house, and the people around her, and her identity was never in doubt, and she loved who she was. She never shied away from being who she was, being black. The people she would surround herself with professionally in her life, her medical doctor was black when he was trained here. Her lawyer was black here in Danbury. The nurse that we speak of was black here in Danbury. We didn't have that many of them, but she insisted on those kinds of things here.